Hello, dear friends, brothers, and sisters. Welcome to the fourth episode in our special series about, your journey to a state of unconditional or absolute happiness. So, the title of this episode is The Journey to Unconditional Happiness. So, when actually is this state of unconditional or absolute happiness attained? It is attained, you see, when you are completely free of personal karma. So, just summarizing, some of the main points that we are going to look into in this episode is, you see, the question which arises is that how do you follow your personal karma day in and day out? You see, from morning till evening, from birth till death, from one life to another life. So, how do you follow your destiny? Based on your personal karma. Just like you see, if you look at a railway line and you look at the train which is going on that railway line, how that train just follows the track. Similarly, we also follow our destiny moment to moment, all the time when we are awake. Then secondly, you see, what is the mechanism which is making this destiny for every individual, for every human being, for everyone work so that we are continuing just like that train going on that track. And you see, as we have mentioned, then we have got to look at that how does this personal karma come to an end? How do we free ourselves from thoughts, feelings, and activities, particularly which are of a bad nature and which keep us on track of our destiny? So once again, the title of this special episode, episode 4, is Your Journey to Unconditional Happiness. So let us start with a few examples. I would like you to look at this figure 1, which is the figure of a tree, and say this tree represents your personal karma. Now, you see, if we were to remove a few leaves or a few branches from the tree, it's not going to matter at all, because you see, when spring will come, more branches will grow, more leaves will come. So that doesn't bring your karma to an end. So what we do is that we give you a chainsaw, which is actually used for cutting trees, or we give you, an electric saw, and we request you that what you do is that you cut this tree right up to the level of the ground. And now you have cut the tree, and the tree has been completely removed. But you see, even though you have cut the tree to the level of the ground, still what you will find is, from your own experience as well, that the tree will still start growing a little bit. It may not grow into a tall tree. The reason for that is that the roots are still there, meaning that these roots represent, what we call as static karma, the karma of all your previous lives. So what we do now is that we give you a digger, right, which is used for digging, into the ground. And we ask you to dig a hole which is 3 meters deep and 3 meters wide around this tree. So when you dig, you see, now you've got a big hole, 3 meters deep, 3 meters wide, and you can see all the roots hanging, right? Just as you see in this figure 1. So now what we do is that we ask you that with the chainsaw or the electric cutter that you had, to remove and cut all the roots. Once all the roots have been cut, you see, those roots are now sitting on the ground, then that is the end of your karmic tree, and no more karma is actually going to be formed. And we go one step further. What we do is that we give you a lighter, and we give you a small metal tank or a metal box or a canister which is full of fuel. We ask you to put this fuel, you see, on those roots which are lying on the ground and set fire to them. So what happens? You see, those roots which had been removed or cut now are burned completely, and all that you see is ashes, and thus your personal karma comes to an end. Okay, now I'm going to take one more example. You see, look at this figure 2. Say this car, it again represents your personal karma. Now, you see, as long as there is fuel in the fuel tank, and as long as you see the motor or the engine is running, personal karma will function, because the car will continue to run, right? So what we do is that we ask you to remove this engine or the motor from the car, right? So now the car actually cannot run. But still, we are naughty. You do a naughty thing. What you do is you go around and find out a shop which sells second-hand car engines. So you buy an engine and you put it back into the car, you put some petrol, and you start driving again, right? So what do we do? What we do is that we take out this engine as well, right? And again, we give you this canister which is full of fuel, and we tell you to pour it over the car, and we give you a lighter, and you set that car alight. Now, when you set the car alight, the car is completely burnt. You see, the body of the car is completely gone. So look at this figure 3. You see, this is the burnt car. So this figure 3, which is the burnt car, now represents the end of your personal karma, because you cannot put an engine into it. The fuel tank is gone. You cannot put any fuel into it. And basically, you see, your personal karma has actually ended. So now look at something very interesting here, that you see the fuel that you put into the car is basically being used to run the car. So similarly, that means somehow some fuel is being put into us. And this is the fuel which is being used, you see, for us to carry on with our destiny, right? Now, what is this fuel? This fuel is right in front of you. This fuel is your own thoughts, which come from the mental plane, and this fuel is your own feelings, which come from the astral plane. So you see, we call these as impulses. So these impulses of thoughts and feelings, look at it very carefully. You see, the thoughts and feelings to you are unique to yourself, right? So these are constantly entering into your physical form, and you are driven by your thoughts, by your feelings, by your desires. So it's quite interesting, and I would like to add one more thing here. You see, as you know that we have got our sun, and then we have these 9 planets, and all these planets have got their own vibrations. So you see, say for example, Saturn or Jupiter or Venus, you see, they've all got their vibrations, and every human being, when in the physical form in the body, is surrounded by these vibrations. And what happens? You see, your thoughts and your feelings will now attract themselves to only some of these vibrations. For example, Saturn. I'm only attracted to some vibrations of Saturn, not to all vibrations of Saturn. And basically, this is how our inner thoughts and feelings or impulses connect with these vibrations outside, and this is how our destiny is formed, and we carry on, based on our, based on our karma, our destiny from morning to evening, day in and day out. This is quite interesting that this is the mechanism behind how our destiny carries on from day to day. Okay, now moving on a little bit further, I'm going to take one more example. Look at an army. The army has got a hierarchy. So basically in the army you have got a major general sitting at the top, and below this major general there could be 3 or 4 generals. Below the general there is few brigadiers, then there are colonels, and below the colonels there could be some majors, and below the majors are some captains, and then last of all are the soldiers on foot. So this is one particular hierarchy which we will use as an example to go deeper into how we can overcome personal karma. So now let us look at this figure 4. You see, the figure 4 represents the 7 sub-levels of the astral plane, right? So look at the first, second and the third sub-levels. The first, second and the third sub-levels, which are pink in color, basically represent good feelings, right? So good feelings, when they come into us, they really do not cause much of a disturbance, right? But then when we come to the 4th subplane, which we have sort of given a yellow color, and we call it the neutral subplane. So this is between the higher subplanes and the lower subplanes of the astral plane. And now we come to the 3 lowermost, most interesting subplanes, which is the 5th, 6th and the 7th, and they are somewhat black in color. So you see, these subplanes represent hell, right? These subplanes of the astral plane represent what we call as the dark forces. You have heard of ghosts, witches, negative elements. So all these, you see, anger, hatred, sexuality, you name it, anything which is of a dark nature or of a negative nature actually belongs to the 5th, 6th and the 7th subplanes. Now here you see, I would actually like to use 2 terminologies, which some of you may be used to or not used to. In English, we are quite familiar with the aspect of higher nature spirits and lower nature spirits. You see, these higher nature spirits are the beings of light, or they are called sur or devas, you see, coming from the Hindu Sanskrit background. And the lower nature spirits, or these are spirits of an evil nature, that would be the right term to use, are actually called asur. So these spirits of an evil nature, they belong to what we call as hell, the 5th, 6th and the 7th subplane. Now, you see, what actually happens is that there is a hierarchy here. Just like there was the major general, similarly, let us take the example of fear. So there will be a major general, or one sitting right at the top or at the head, you see, who is the head of fear. Now below this, you see, so this is called as the asur, or what we call as the evil spirit, who is at the head of the hierarchy. Now, below this so-called Major General of Fear, or the Emperor of Fear, or the King of Fear, below him is, if we take the example of the army, there will be generals, brigadiers, colonels, you see, captains, and then there will be the soldiers on foot. You see, who are these soldiers on foot? These are the bad impulses, the bad feelings. And I always use this example that if you look at your brain, I say that there is a back door to your brain which is always open, and from here, look at it very carefully, you see all sorts of evil thoughts, evil feelings, especially evil feelings of a dark nature, are always entering and controlling us, right? So now let us take another example here, and you may actually laugh at this. If I say to you that please don't have any breakfast, lunch, or dinner, say for 2 days, well, you will say, probably Anil is saying that, so that may be okay. But then if I say to you that, look, don't have any lunch, don't have any breakfast, and you don't have any dinner for 1 year, right? And don't drink any water as well. So then actually you will laugh at me and you will say that, oh, that's really, something has really gone wrong with this person, Anil. Why? Because this physical body is made up of the 5 elements and it needs food to survive, right? So it is not possible to go without food, for 1 year, because this physical body will then go. Similarly, you see, whenever there is an environment of hatred or anxiety, or sensuality or sexuality or whatever it may be, whenever a negative environment is created around you, what happens? You see, when you have got fear, or when you have got anger, or when you have got anxiety, you see, that has its own essence. When there's a lot of anxiety in you, you start sweating. So just like every food, be it lentils, salty boiled potatoes, or any vegetable, right, has got its own essence. Similarly, you see, every negative feeling that comes into you, that attacks you, you see, it produces an essence. And this essence is the food for these impulses, or what you call as the lower nature spirits. So the moment an environment, an atmosphere of anger, fear, hatred, or negativity is created around you, and that essence which is produced, you see, they feed these impulses which have entered through the back door of your mind. They feed on this essence which is their food, and this essence is then fed right up the hierarchy. Like I had taken the example of fear. So, the essence that is produced by fear is fed right through, you see, the captain, the colonel, the brigadiers, and so on, right up to the Major General, who is the head, right? And this is their food. They're not doing anything wrong. That is actually how they evolve, right? And we hardly take any notice of this, right? So now, you see, let us look at another very interesting thing, which I call as the 90% rule created by nature. You see, if you look at your normal day, right, your normal day actually goes quite well, right? But like 90% of the things in the day are very good. You wake up in the morning, you have your tea or coffee, the sunshine is there, you have had a good night's sleep, and you carry on with your work during the day. So and the sunshine is there, the daylight is there, you're all good. So 90% from your own experience, things are good. But 10% things are not good. What is that which is not good? Things that cause disturbance to you, things that which may cause unhappiness to you. So out of every 10 things, one thing is generally bad and 9 things are good. This can vary, you see. This may vary, you see, from 2% to about 27% of the things may be bad depending on our character. But as a general rule, for every 9 things that are good, one thing is actually bad. And as you can see, that normally your day will go quite well, but there will be some 10% disturbance, right? Now, what is this disturbance actually caused? This disturbance is caused again by these evil spirits, you see, by those soldiers on foot, by those impulses, you see, impulses of a lower nature which bring about anger, fear, hatred, and they are actually trained. They are trained to enter into your mind and the moment something good is actually not happening. So this is what you have got to be very, very wary of. So, I'm going to give you an example here. You see, I live in Sydney in Australia, right? And here it is the opposite. We have our winter in June, July, and August, right? So 21st of June normally is considered to be the shortest day in Australia. Could be a day here or day there, depending. But normally what happens is that because it is winter and on the 21st of June about 5 o'clock it becomes pretty dark, right? And by about 10 o'clock in the evening, in the night time, it's pitch dark actually. So one day actually I came from work and it was about 5:30, it was around the 21st of June, winter time. And, I just changed my clothes and I was listening to the evening news. But then suddenly what happened? Guess what? There was a knock on the front door. So I was wondering, what has actually happened? So I went to the front door and when I opened it, guess what? The two sisters, hatred and fear, both of them were actually knocking. So I said, what are you two doing here, late in the evening, in the front door of my house? They said, we were just actually in the neighborhood and we thought we'll pay Anil a visit. So I said, it is very good since, you've come as guests, you're most welcome. But then I told them that, look, it's getting quite, late in the evening and it's dark as well and I'm very tired. So anyway, I said, you can come in. And I said that, look, I only drink hot water and I'm having some biscuits with it. But you can sit with me, next to me and you can watch the news and I'll make a hot cup of tea with you, because I had some tea bags. I said, I'll make some tea for you and you can have these biscuits with me and listen to the news and enjoy. So, you see, the moment I said that, both sensuality and sexuality did not like that. Suddenly, they became very red. I said, sorry, not sensuality and sexuality, it is hatred and fear. These two sisters had come. So, the two sisters, hatred and fear, they said, they were suddenly turning very red and they said, sorry, I think we have come by mistake. I think that we will just, go somewhere else because we have got some other work in the neighborhood and we'll come another time. I said, okay, it is up to you, And so this episode sort of finished. Then what happened was that you see again on the same night, it was about 10 o'clock. And guess what? Again, about 9:45 in the night, there was a big knock on the front door. And I went to the front door and when I opened it, this time the two sisters, sexuality and sensuality, they were there. So I said, oops, it's 10 o'clock in the night and I'm preparing to sleep. What are you two actually doing here? So they said, we were just actually in the neighborhood, and because it is quite late in the night, it is about 10 o'clock. And you see, I like watching, Hindi or Bollywood films, and nowadays there are a lot of very entertaining songs which are very sexy, Bollywood songs, girls and boys half naked dancing everywhere, so sensuality and sexuality said, oh, this person Anil has come from work, it's already 10 o'clock, he must be very tired, so we'll just sit with him and we'll play some nice sensual Bollywood songs, and Anil can enjoy and we will enjoy with him. So then I looked at them. I said, well, your thoughts are pretty good, but I said, look, I'm very tired and it's about getting to 10 o'clock in the night time and I'll be sleeping soon. So at the moment, I said that, look, I'm just listening to a religious song. It's a very beautiful spiritual song. It is actually called Aarti, which is in Hindi, and it is played on every ritual or every spiritual occasion. And it is about 5 minutes. I said that I'm actually listening to that. And after that, I'm going to play another spiritual song, which is, on one of the great spiritual masters, Ramana Maharishi. And this song is sung by Krishna Das from USA. And I'll play this song for about 5 minutes and then I'm going to go to sleep. So I said, sensuality and sexuality, the two sisters, I said, you're most welcome to join me. And the moment actually I said that, because you see, their agenda is different, right? They wanted to attack me with negative energies. So suddenly I saw that they turned completely red, and you see when you start burning coal, how smoke starts coming out. Smoke started coming out of them. So I said, oh, what happened to you? I thought you were very, full of happiness and full of glee. And suddenly you seemed to have gone very quiet. So they said, we suddenly realized that we had actually got to go somewhere else, and so we will pay you a visit another time. And so they started running and I followed them, and as I followed them, I saw that both of them then went to my neighbor's house, and then they were knocking on the front door of that neighbor, right? So what I mean is that you see, all the time you're getting these knocks from these negative impulses in your brain, and you've always got to be careful to check what is going on, what are they up to. So anyway, my story doesn't finish here. So after about 3 or 4 days, I was actually sitting in meditation in the morning, and my spiritual guide had actually come, and we were traveling, and my spiritual guide said to me, look, Anil, there is a complaint against you. Whenever you get summons from the court, you have got to go to the court. So similarly, I was actually summoned. Now, you see, if you are at work and if you've got a meeting, normally you will go into a conference room and then there are some chairs there and you will have some discussion. So we actually traveled up to the highest astral subplane, which is the first subplane of the astral plane. And there was this huge room and there was this big table. And guess what? Around this table, all these negative impulses, which are called sikandas in Hindi, they were all sitting there, right? And they were all complaining. So I was made to sit there and give my evidence. So these negative impulses were saying that, look, we have actually stopped entering Anil's mind. We don't even go near his house. We don't even enter that neighborhood. But there is a problem. What Anil is doing is that he is going and telling everybody that don't entertain these negative impulses. And he is interfering with our work and he's taking our food away. Their livelihood is being taken away. So anyway, then I was asked to, speak. And I said that, look, as far as I remember, 10 years before Jesus Christ, I was in a human body, right? And now we are in 2020. So this is 2030 years have gone by. And I said, now I've come to know what is your game. And you have been controlling me day in and day out. I said, so now your game is over. And in Australian language, English language, we call it as payback time. I said that now it is payback time, and wherever I go, whoever I communicate with, I'm going to tell them that what these negative impulses or these lower nature spirits are actually up to, what evil they do, and how actually you see, because of these bad feelings that come into us, due to which these bad desires that arise, we are, you see, kept right in step of our destiny. And this is how you are following your destiny day in and day out, and you are grounded to the earthly plane. And because of these bad impulses, because of these bad desires, you keep on coming back and reincarnating all the time, right? So this is a good example just to explain actually what goes on, and we are never conscious of really what is going on. So now you see, all good desires or bad desires, good feelings or bad feelings, are actually coming into us only because of two things: either because of love, good feelings are coming, or because of hatred, you see, bad feelings are coming. So I would like you to now look at this figure 5, right? This is a interesting figure. This is actually the genesis or the summary of emotions. So you see, if you look at the first column, this represents the qualitative aspect, love and hate, right? And then the second column represents what we call as the quantitative aspect. You see, what happens is that whenever you are drawn towards an object, right, either your love to that will be superior, or it will be neutral, or the love will be inferior. Let me actually take an example. You see, just as a human being is born, so too one has to die, right? But what happens is that when a near or a dear one dies, naturally that person has gone on to the next world, but everyone is actually crying and bellowing, and there is so much of sorrow, like a tragedy. So you see, this event which is there of death may not have been so huge, but the thing is just the way you are actually affected. So you are affected far more than whatever this object was. So similarly, you see, there might be an event, there may be someone's birthday, right? And basically, okay, it is your friend's birthday, but the thing is this, that you may feel jealous, that why is this friend of mine celebrating his birthday so well, why isn't my birthday also celebrated the same way? So you see, now what has happened is that again there is a difference between the object and how you are feeling about the object. So always there are three aspects: greater than, that is superior, equal to, or less than whatever is the object of desire. Now we come to the most interesting part of this figure. If you look at column 3 very carefully, right, this represents what I was explaining to you as the major journal. You see, reverence, affection, and benevolence. You see, these are the three major journals which belong to the first, second, and the third subplane, because from them come only good feelings, good desires. But when you look at the fifth, sixth, and the seventh subplane, where all the negative energies are, which is actually called hell, you see, there you have got the three primary elements of emotion, or what you call as the three heads, the three big emperors, or the three big major journals. They are fear, anger, and pride. And you look at it, we are always driven by these three aspects of fear, anger, and pride. And then when you come to the fourth column, this actually represents the degree of emotion, or this actually represents the soldiers on foot. You see, whatever is there in that fourth column, starting from I think from the highest degree to the lowest degree, basically represents what happens to you. You see, how from the open back door of your mind, you see, when that door is actually open, how these negative elements are actually entering into you. Let us take an example. Say, for example, let us look at anger. Now, you see, somebody who is close to you does something and you actually don't like that at all, and it is not a good thing what has been done. So what happens? You see, the head which is sitting there, the major general, he knows something bad is happening with you, and so the emotions of say aversion, which is disliking, will enter into you. The aversions of hostility, you see, anger brings about hostility towards someone, they will actually enter into you. So like this, you can actually map everything that is going on with you. Similarly, if you look at reverence, you see, reverence belongs to the higher subplanes, which consists of good feelings. Say, for example, let us take the example of Jesus, right? Or take the example of Buddha, or take the example of any spiritual entity that you know. So say Jesus, we have a lot of adoration for him. We've got a lot of respect for him, because he only thought about the good of humanity, right? But what you've got to note is that, you see, impulses which are of a higher nature, they burn steadily, right? Whereas the impulses of a lower nature, you see, they don't actually burn steadily, but they create a lot of upheaval within you. Okay, so now coming to the end of this particular episode, one of the questions which will arise is that, look, you may say that, okay, whatever actually has been discussed so far, you may be able to overcome your dynamic karma, means your present karma, because you will not entertain negative energies, or you will not entertain these impulses. But how do you overcome your static karma? The karma of all the previous lives. Now look at this very carefully, and this is the key teaching, you see, in our these episodes. If you see your personality comes to an end, because who is actually entertaining these negative impulses? It is the personality, right? If the personality were to come to an end, just like, you see, the car, that example which had been given, the car was completely burnt, then you see what is going to happen is that, look, there will be no one there to entertain these impulses, right? So say you are reborn again, but when this rebirth will happen, it will be a rebirth like that of Jesus, a rebirth like that of Buddha, a rebirth like that of Lord Krishna, in the Hindus. So basically, you see, they don't have any personal karma. Why? Because, you see, whatever may be the, say, for the last, a million lives, whatever karma actually had been created, because each time in every life you only work out one particular karma, you see, a very small percentage of that. Say, for example, if there are 1,000 beans or 1,000 peas, in one life you only work out the karma of one pea, and if one pea represents the karma of one lifetime, how do you get rid of those 999 peas, or how do you get rid of all that previous karma? The way you get rid of that is that, if you see, remember the example of the car, the example of the tree. If the car is not there, it's completely burnt. If the personality is not there, then, you see, there will be no one to entertain those impulses. There will be no one to entertain, you see, the previous karma. So if you don't entertain any karma, if you don't entertain any thoughts or feelings of a personal nature related to your personality, then that is the end of your static karma. So with this, dear friends, brothers and sisters, I bring this episode 4 to a close. All that I am very humbly requesting to you is to listen to this, to understand it, to apply it in your life, and be wary of these negative impulses which enter into you, which ground you to this earth, and because of which we keep on reincarnating. And I'm sure that if you were able to understand and put to practice some of the things discussed in this episode, you will move towards a state of absolute or unconditional happiness. So with that, I close this episode, and I thank you very much from the core of my heart for having given the time and listened, and hope it will assist you. Thank you. Namaskar.